In this video, we're going to be talking about recording changes made to your document marked by timestamp and the name of the person who makes your change, protecting those changes with a password, and also to compare changes between different versions of the same document so that you can decide whether or not you want to keep each change. We can access all of these functions through the Edit menu of OpenOffice Writer by going down right above Find and Replace to the Changes submenu and Compare Document. In the Changes submenu, we can check this box next to Record by left-clicking on Record in order to enable the recording of each change, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate that now. In a previous video, we briefly talked about this because you could actually access the same function through the Properties menu of OpenOffice Writer. But what happens is you start typing some information, and each change is going to be marked with golden text. You could have multiple lines, you could add in a new bulleted list, essentially whatever you want. And each change that gets made while you have the record setting on is going to be labeled with the person who did it, at what time, and what type of change they made. For instance, if I start removing information as well, it will show a deleted change made by me at the exact time that I made it. Now, if we saved this document and sent it to someone, they would be able to accept or reject these changes as long as you don't turn record mode off. And they could do that by going to Edit, Changes, and Accept or Reject, which is going to show each of the changes that we've made recently to our documents. For instance, this deletion, we want to accept it or delete it, we can hit accept, and then it stops being a change and goes to become part of the document permanently. With this insertion, which is being shown by everything selected here, we can accept or reject that. If we reject it, then it's going to be gone. Using this method is good if you want to compare changes within the same saved document to the previous version. But if you actually have two different documents, you can compare them by going to, well, hang on a second. Let me get rid of all this stuff. Break. But if you have two copies of break. But if you want to compare two of the same break. But if you want to compare the document with another document, you can do that by going to Edit, Compare Document, which will give you the Insert window, and you can select the second document you want to compare it with. For instance, I have Guide 2 here. And now it's going to show all of the changes between that document and this document. Now, the perspective that it's going to be explaining these changes from is that the inserted document is going to be the one where these changes are getting replaced with the current document. So, in other words, you can think of it as if the current document you're working in is considered to be the new version, and the one you're inserting is considered to be the old one being overwritten. Now, just like before, we can accept or delete each of these changes. For instance, if I want original to be the word that goes here in this merged document, I can hit accept. Do I want the word follow-up to be deleted? I can hit accept for that as well, if I want follow-up to be gone. Do I want to remove one copy of the word really? Well, the second one's pretty redundant, so yeah, and on and on and on. You can make the changes to your document and accept or reject each and every one. Now, one last similar function you can find within the Changes menu is to merge a document with another document. Now, the difference between compare and merge document is that compare can take any two documents and compare them with each other and allow you to accept or reject changes. But for merge document to work, the second document that you're comparing it to must be an extension of the first document. Anything that was on the first document cannot be changed. If there have been any direct changes to the information which was already on the first document, then it simply will not allow you to merge. The second document, in other words, can only add information. It can't remove anything off of the original document. So we can do this by hitting Merge Document, which will bring up the Insert dialog box. And we can go to Guide 3, which is an extension of Guide 2 in this case. Just arbitrary names for the files, by the way. And I've made one additional change in Guide 3, which was to add in this Hello Mr. Merge. Do I want to accept that? Well, yes or no. I'll hit accept, and there we go. Now, just to point out, if you want to restrict who can control these settings within OpenOffice, you would go to Changes, Protect Records, which I think I briefly mentioned at the start. And here you can set a password. Then the only people who can enable or disable or accept changes are the ones who know the password and actually put it in order to do those things. So for instance, I could do this right now. Oh, whoops. You have to actually confirm the password, of course. No different than any other password in any other operating system. And then you can see that after a change is made, I can only actually accept or reject that after I disable the Protect Records option. I have this change here, but I can't mess around with it. In order to actually make any changes to record or show or accept or reject, I would have to turn off Protect Records by inputting the password. So I could do that right here. Then I would go back to accept or reject and just do it as normal. So these settings would be very useful in the case that you had a supervisor or an official or anything like that who was supposed to be the only person to make the final finished permanent changes to a document, and you can do that by setting the password. So that's all for this OpenOffice Writer video. Till the next one, see you then.